Good evening. I am going to discuss this night several different projects that I have going on and some perspective. Most notably, the modern age in the technological infancy of connectivity and its adverse reality effects upon culture. Think about for never in history have we had so much information and connectivity available at our fingertips. Therefore, it is making the world seem just like a totally different place. What's really going on, though, is the fact that it's illuminating certain aspects, but the problem is, realistically, the control mechanisms that are in place and the jaded, skewed versions of reality based upon popular trending, regardless the economic stability and validation. It's there's too many variables. Okay, modern society today, you've got all these people that feel empowered. They have at their fingertips this ability to connect and figure out anything. It's this omniscient perspective, and what it leads to is a this overtly dangerous narcissism. Most specifically though, because it's the first real step into this portal. I mean, everybody's been speculating on it. It's basically what the Matrix is about, all the way back through contact. I mean, there's all sorts of dimensions of being able to connect. So if you're somebody and you have it's the busyness making yourself seem more important. And then you're part of a group or a movement or a wave or herd or swarm that makes you, it validates your existence. So therefore you act. Even it's just a real strange sense of reality, and it's very, very dangerous, especially when there are various factions that are utilizing it. They're playing these factions, they're surfing it, or they are riding these trends in order to facilitate their agenda. Because it's like the sooner land grab. You know, everybody's trying to grab their percentage or perspective of this territory, these assets, their branding or whatever. And the problem is the reality is not necessarily, because you can't really count on it long term, because competition is going to come in and change the perspective. You look at MySpace, to Facebook, to Twitter, to all these different variations. And sure, they make a ton of money. And you even jump back to like Prodigy or early days of CompuServe and AOL, which had very similar platforms. I mean, you've got to look long term as far as the ability to see beyond the trends. And the problem is you're right. The power that is vested in these trends that is energizing the individuals who are then therefore their minds all screwed up, and they don't necessarily see it. They're hallucinating. It's very much a hallucinatory virtual reality. And the problem is there's too much credibility placed upon it. And that's where you're going to get into a lot of difficulties globally. Most of society in various parts of the globe have more of a controlled historical, cultural preservation relevance, regardless the morality put in place. There's still structure built upon it. What's going on is like 2012, where all the land just it turns from sedimentary into lava, and then it forms and then reforms. It's just a big gurgling volcano that keeps spewing up. And the problem is the dangerous nature of these people that are in control. I supply a lot of power to this, and I'm not allowed to defend myself. I'm like a big bank. They've knocked the door off of me, and everybody's rushing in and grabbing assets. And they're figuring There are ways to convert energy to cash, or energy to assets, or energy to influence, or energy to magnetism. I just happen to be the source, or my bank that I represent does. And so, but I'm not allowed to play. They've decided that they're going to relegate me bitch warmer, even though I'm paying for the fucking game. You're talking about the worst investment ever. And then they've even bribed a bunch of the judiciary to. It's this whole. They're trying to play this franchise player tag, but the only way I'm playing from a global perspective because most of my power comes from global sources. So what they've tried to do is they're using domestic ideology on global power. It just doesn't coexist. There's a big discrepancy, and they've got all sorts of variable connectors and converters. So I'm just trying to gain a bit of control. And the problem is the mob. What it is you've got the wealthy. There's a group. It's like the Communist Party, but they don't have the balls. They're scared. The Communist Party that's really scared of the revolution. So the wealthy have this VIP, I call it a commune party, and they even make me relevant to their commune status because they're so blood dope and proud. So it's a commune party of shared. What they've done is okay. You take St. Louis as they've relegated St. Louis JV. Then they put all these people at a higher rank, regardless the accountability. Or it's like art by the foot, Who gives a fuck who's there, It's a Picasso. Who cares? It's big, It's that Christo mentality. It's art by the foot. That's what's going on here. Or in there, that's the mentality. That's the variation of the difference between bulls and the bear. Art by the foot or jewels. That sort of mentality. The judgment is all wrong. So what they're doing is they're converting the jewel. I'm backing the art by the foot is I'm utilized to back all these speculative schemes, not necessarily for the better of what's going on. Empathetic decoy weapons, as you will. I'm an empathetic. It's this whole notoriety of sacrificial lamb. But the problem is, they didn't just sacrifice me. They took out the whole bank. They knocked over the whole bank. It's not just one sacrifice. But the problem is, nobody stood up and managed the estate. It's like they knocked over a bank. And then it's just Mardi Gras, free-for-all Mardi Gras. And then it's revenge for the Mardi Gras party. What they're trying to do is they're pissed off. Louisiana could have gotten away with partying all these years. So the Protestants, who are good, that's the goody mob mentality, of all these years, screwed the Catholics of Louisiana by not letting them grow up. They stunted their growth. They used the alcohol against them. So they used the alcohol to stunt the development as justification from this Mardi Gras as the state. So the state never grew. So therefore, Latin America, which connects to it, never grew up also, and Europe is falling to the side because of it was a ploy, obviously, a scheme. So they're trying to make this the empathetic decoy. So nobody jumped in and managed the state properly. All they did was a Sanford Sun fire sale salvage. That's where you get into the Fred Sunset Club Juiceheads sold their soul, and they're hanging out to dry right now. They really screwed up fast. They went overboard, way overboard on this empathy. They lost control, first of all. They never had any sort of backup plan or anything like that. So you got these positions of power which hurt the entire population. They built this new popular pyramid scheme. So rather than history or cultural preservation like most of the world has like the Olympics showed 1,000 years of Russian history. And they wanted want to use Pussy Riot to kill everything. That's the mentality. That's the bullet mentality. That's where you get into. You worship the Dairy Queens. You got bullets or your gods. These idols are bullets or spears, the sacred spear of destiny weapons that can knock over a whole empire, the Roman Empire, but they're trying to use it to knock over the world's empire so they can go in and get a Sanford fire sale. And the people that screwed me are trying to point it, rather than fixing the problem, they're trying to point it globally. It's bad business. It's going to backfire. It's really, and that's where the whole House of Cards thing comes into. It doesn't take much to knock this over. It really doesn't. So they built this cheerleader pyramid scheme, like popularity, mean girl plastic. So they decide, they take the commune VIP wealthy who refuse to muzzle their pets, or they refuse, I pay for their pets to eat. I pay for their pets' food, utilizing the crooked law as ways to, it's a siphon scam. It really is. It's just, they figured ways to siphon off assets. So they built this popularity Cheerios pyramid scheme. Has no basis economically, no basis in accounting or anything like that. So now they're trying to solidify it by destroying other sectors of the globe. So they use anything and everything. That's why we're heading into the pink revolution now, which is terrible, terrible, terrible business. I have always been really, really nice. I've managed hundreds and hundreds of girls and women, and I've never had a problem. I've been super professional. I've always paid them equally. The same thing with minorities. I've always been super good. That's one of the reasons they had to do this marathon torture to make me look like a gangsta asshole to try to escape. Yeah, I got insomnia and I'm mad and all this stuff right now, but my record is really, really good. I partied a bunch. Yeah, my record was really good in the workplace. I managed hundreds of teenagers and young adults and was very, very professional and very, very fair, and I was nice and went out of my way. So that's a threat. So that's why, because they used what was my strengths against me. You want to talk about witness tampering, but the problem is I'm forced onto this nickel leash, the J.C. Penney leash. It's a handicap fare for the commune pyramid scheme Communist Party. They don't have the balls of the Communist Party. They're the Commune Party. But they're rich. They're super fucking rich, but they share my assets. They knocked over my bank, the St. Louis Bank, so they share rather than building up Louisiana, which would have helped stabilize the global economy, they knocked over the bank, and now it's just wild, crazy chaos. And that's payback because I partied in high school, I think. And it's payback for immigration in Texas, in my estimation. Theoretically. Well, yeah, I think it is. And it's payback for the Italian mafia. It's payback for gangs. And but the problem is there were bad people in all sectors of society. And what drove them to that were being excluded from business, so they formed other methods of it. That's that whole Wolves of Wall Street sort of scenario. They weren't able to trade, and so they figured out other loopholes. And that's survival of the fittest mechanism, regardless of the legality of it. But the problem was Louisiana was hijacked in the 20th century, way back when, and was never allowed to evolve. And so because it never evolved, it was supposed to be, Louisiana, in my theory, was supposed to be part Jewish and part Catholic aristocracy, whereas Notre Dame was producing a lot, and Boston College and Georgetown and these other Catholic schools were producing individual wealth. Louisiana, because of the parish, was supposed to be a homeland but they didn't want the competition, so they knocked it over and used it fertilizer. Used it as superpowered gene splice fertilizer. So Louisiana never developed. Latin America, which was respectful of Louisiana, because that's why St. Louis, King of France, is there. They need the balance. There's always been, throughout history, you had the church, you had a monarch, aristocracy, and the politics. What they did was they knocked out the monarch, and they shifted the aristocracy, or the commune party now worships these politicians, which then created a bunch of idols, pop idols. Politics is all about pop. That's where you get the cheerleader Cheerios GMO pyramid scheme. The Frankenfoods is from the politics as a precedent because of law. That's where you got into this. So Louisiana never developed into, they were always being too pious. Well, that was the scam. They were being played from each side. They had on one side, they were being played like puppets. And so they got played like puppets, never evolved. They were always pious, and they were partying because of Mardi Gras, so they were sabotaged. And then my family got sabotaged and brainwashed and hacked and programmed up. So the problem is we are still not allowed to develop and grow, even though, see, what should have happened was we were tarnished. They knew they needed us, so they had to desecrate us in order to be able to keep us as the Blue Cross Blue Shield slaves in the zoo for hostages, that sort of mentality. But we had another mission, but we aren't allowed to accomplish this mission. It was revenge, wrath. It was the wrath, revenge. So California was supposed to help us evolve, but nobody else rose up. There's no other. I mean, we were prepared. Going back to the Marx Brothers and all that, we were the anointed, as you would. We had the pedigree and the credibility that could have been built to be a law bank law control, to a levy, Levi levy. We were supposed to all these tons and tons of liquid assets, but instead we got hijacked, knocked over, and now they figured out schemes to just distribute it, and they're trying to play it and control it. They're trying to drive an avalanche. It's a stampede, but it's heading towards a cliff. And what's going on is you got this big stampede going on. It's dust storms, cloud, pollution, everything. It's like the buffalo jump. So they're running it towards a cliff. And those that can fly are going to fly. Those that can't are going to crash down and be scattered and die and rot. And that's what's going on. I'm trying to stop the stampede. The stampede is funded by the fuel is fueled by my assets that are being looted. This Mississippi River of assets is being fueled in the stampede. So I'm trying to manage it and be accountable and properly plan strategically a future business. I'm looking for a 100-year plan as far as to help develop Latin America. Instead, Latin America is fajitas, Smurf fajitas. They weren't allowed to grow up, so now they're gonna attack Latin America with the Dairy Queens and politicians, because they had to wait for years and years. You had the Marxist rebels. That's why they hate me so fucking bad. Also, even though Marx wrote the Bible of capitalism, Marxist rebels are seen as leftists. I'm not a leftist. I'm a centrist. I'm a banker, as you would, an economist. I could give a fuck less about the right or the left. They both fuck me, to be honest with you. So I'm trying to just manage the estate. You know, if they were smart, they would have helped me control it, but I don't have the tool. It's a big fuck. It's like me trying to not only swim across the Mississippi River, which is, if you know anything about it, difficult, is to myself basically try to build some sort of diversionary canal. But instead, I'm not allowed to. So, for revenge for all this Marxism that they hate so fucking bad, Even though Marx wrote Capital, and you got Capital One, they are going to try to. I was trying to take it back. That whole sort of thing, change the whole perspective. So now they had to wait for technology in order to, they're going to franchise brands throughout Latin America and instill political systems. What needed to happen was you needed to have a strong aristocracy and society, civilized banking society that was fair. Louisiana was going to be the sheriff because they had the power of the United States behind them, and they could control any of these psychotic, but instead they're poachers. What's happened is you've got this commune party of wealthy have become poachers. So what they do is they're planning on killing all the lions and tigers and bears and all the big cats and all that, and then throwing them into the spam factory for drugs. That's what the drug industry is doing. That's what they did with me. They kill off they poach the big game as being fair. And they use the political machine and law to poach the big game. And then they throw it into a hamburger vat and they throw up a bunch of franchises and it's a bunch of rent-a-cops. When you have no local controls in an area, it's like a Barney Fife rent-a-cop. That's what it is. It's Knott's Berry Farm. You can walk. Anybody can walk in, and then it's just urban centric, and it's basically because it's been skewed so far to the left for so long, and there's been no accountability issues as far as not really the left. I don't know what you would call it. It's skewed towards urban. It's urban skewed. City-centric. There's no town and country. Town and country is part of the commune worthless, They're just sitting back and playing on the Titanic, or they're planning the flyaway escape, even though they could have prepared. If Louisiana see, that's where we got screwed. My best allies should be the wealthy, but they're making me play the penny chasing penny game. My family, they kept us. They kept us. They kept us feeding the poor as far as blood doping. Our best ally should be Louisiana. Should be the wealthy bank, but instead they skewed it away. They balanced. They won't allow it to happen because the wealthy want to travel globally. And so Louisiana has a lot of global ties, being a strong French, Spanish, Italian, and Latin connection, and good English. So what they did, though, was Louisiana should have been, they're using hostages for insurance rather than traditional banking principles. So by keeping Louisiana small, because what they did was when they brainwashed my sister's network, they basically hijacked all the wealth. It was a bank heist. It was a train robbery bank heist. They heard it all. They diverted all the assets to follow the popular culture trend, which is basically one person, one vote is totally different from individuals' wealth. But they made the individual wealth follow the politicians, and they got them to party instead of the balance. That's where the balance is. So the wealthy jump behind, because of my sister, in my estimation, they jumped behind the politicians and the idols, and they left the bank wide open to be looted and pillaged as revenge, obviously. Beauty shop revenge, vanity. While the devil's advocate, vanity. You're going to see this play out. 20 years, there's going to be some massive, massive, massive changes. It's going to be even worse than the last 20 years because of technology. And they are not prepared at all. And they would not let me prepare. They make me sit here by myself. And it's criminal, literally criminal, to allow my bank to fuel this global revolution. And the only answer to control it is cowboy branding, which is insane. Which back, see, Texas is like the Bears and the Bulls and the Bears. Texas, Longhorns. Louisiana, Tigers. LSU. The Greenway. Tulane, one of the big Jewish universities. Bruins. Lions and Tigers and Bears, oh my. Wizard of Oz. So, but the problem is Texas hijacked Louis. That's what happened. And they are literally, and they got New York sold us out. New York did not want, New York is who sold us out. And California never backed us either. They were all just going to play, look, let's let Texas kill them and then swoop in and get it, and then land grab, get as many assets as they could. So it's a bank heist land grab at one of the worst times in history, because I really needed to be prepared. But instead, you're going to see it's literally going to be like the Terminator. And it's going to turn into this, I honestly think, because of the vanilla ice mentality, this extreme puritanical empathy to the politicians who are gods now because they kidnapped gods and they're killing their poachers. The politicians are the poachers. Their politicians are going to go out around the world and kill all the lions and tigers and bears for the pharmaceutical pill mill. That's it. That's what the Terminator is. Rise of the Machines, Salvation, Kristen Bale, Sarah Connor. That's what's going to happen. It's got to. It's the only conclusion. 20 years, I think we're going to be living in a big brother totalitarian state. And all these party bitches are going to look back and say, oh, we fucked up. Hey, I tried to warn you. Hopefully this won't be erased. But hey, I'm on the record for my credibility, at least, as far as an intellectual, even though I'm deemed whatever. Yeah, I have trouble with ADHD. And I'm not, and the dungeon master kidnapper terrorists torture. So they play my weaknesses. So I'm not allowed, and with ADHD, I need people to help me. And I'm not allowed people to help me. I'm not allowed to pill. I got to be empathetic and handicapped. Because golf is God. Crazy. Crazy. The wealthy are crazy. I mean, they're literally, the world is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking so small because of technology. They're going to figure ways. It's going to be a redistribution. They're going to kill off the wealthy. They're going to they're going to poach all the lions and tigers and bears, and then the wealthy are next. That's got to happen. That's the only solution. And they can party for a little bit longer. They can enjoy their Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week and that bullshit at the Oscars or the Academy Awards at their VIP parties and their country clubs, but they're going to get massacred. This whole capitalism fad is going to be gone. This popular culture is going to say, fuck these bitches, man. Give us your goddamn money right now. Look, you helped us kill all the fucking lions and tigers and bears. Give us your fucking money. That's why Louisiana was supposed to be the bank law. But they poached us. So now, 20 years, redistribution of wealth. I would be surprised if it's not. And these politicians fucking hate the wealthy, and they hate celebrities. Because they think of them, the politicians are just pets or whatever. So yeah, it's going to get really, really nasty. Terminator, Rise of the Machine. What it is you've got degrees of guilt. I supply the blood doping. And there are loopholes around all of this. Because of the blood doping, they use machines and fuel. That's why you get a rise to that's where Lance Armstrong might be seen as a hero. If the machines take over the world, Lance Armstrong will be a hero. Because his blood doping drove all the guilty to use cars and machines, the transformers, and super fuels. Because you can turn these fuels, blood doping and fuels, you can have these really super power fuels, but you can't do, that's why the Olympics are there. So, you've got, where was I going? Oh yeah, Rise of the Machines probably will happen. Oh, the degrees of guilt. and where it's leading. Like the United States has 250 of the 500 top universities in the world. Justify it. I mean, that's where you get. Then you got to look at the periodic table. It doesn't make any sense. That goes back to political machines. One vote equality versus this various. It's against science. It's against physics. It's totally just one person, one vote equality, and a crooked system that is feeding on my bank. I'm a representative. I'm a bank principal. I'm acting. If I'm wrong, this is a fiction. Me playing the role of a prince, and I wrote that down like 10 years ago. I was writing a book as Machiavellian Prince in Modern Society because I wasn't sure fact or fiction or what. So I'm safe on that end, even though I'm not allowed to be a cat. They're gonna make me motherfucking fall. So they can figure a way to knock me over. Infallibility, because they want to ruin my credibility. It's like tampering with a witness. They didn't just tamper with a witness. They dragged me around like mob puppet strings. I suffer from extreme insomnia and extreme starvation because I am a giant, but I am fed crumbs. So my body doesn't work. So anybody that wants can come up and whack the shit out of me, chisel off a little piece of my heart, and take it and run. I can't do anything. So my hunger is I'm being hollowed out, being because I can't move my body because of starvation. So I fall over. I tend to fall over. I admit I am weak. I have 10 years more plus of pretty bad torture, pretty fucked up, mostly alone. So the degrees of guilt. You've got all these levels of degrees. So, and when you look at it, let's use me as an example. Me being the exception to the rule because Louisiana, Napoleon parishes. That's probably why you got Elba Island, LNG screwing me here for the party monster machine. Crazy. The South, really fucking crazy. I get understand it all. Because they got the most to lose. If this falls apart, I mean, it's getting really, really nasty. You're going to make it hard to save them. They're a handicap the savior sort of mentality. You make it hard because they won't lift a finger. Crazy. So, you've got levels of degrees in guilt at a university. So, you issue all these degrees, which are basically charge cards. A plastics charge card. And some people, and depending on who you are, and the debt that is accrued, and the connections, you're basically creating this charge card character when you go to a university. And there are, like I said, you've got, and I'm going to use Louisiana as an example, because you've got Tulane on one side, which and then you've got LSU and the state schools on the other, then you've got Catholic schools like Loyola in the middle. And then you got Centenary, which ties into the Methodist Church. But see, the funny part, one of the reasons they play the rank game, Centenary is where the founder of southeastern Louisiana, where I got my degree, graduated from. So, and Centenary is Methodist, but it's a state in southeastern, and he founded as a Louisiana state school. So therefore, by rank logic, and my degree is from there, the Methodists are lords of Louisiana, and that logic, even though they are terrible, and they're basically butchering, selling. But that's the precedence is used as a rank scale. So you've got all these degrees that are issued. The problem is the individuality that is independent. This notion of independence is gone overboard, way overboard. This is not, there's a difference between independence and party monsters, dope fiend, independent crowd. That's sort of blood doping crowd. That's what it is, party monsters. Now, so you've got these psychotic, and they're on some heavy dope. This purple blood. You're basically taking this really strong. It's like if you watch True Blood, and this is True Blood has a lot of truisms in it. parts. You got to use parts if you're able to perceive. The B blood that they take gives you these superhuman abilities, like mutants. So you're creating these superhero mutants. The problem is they revolted against this. They were driven to revolt against the source as revenge, first of all, by the machine, the party machine, the political machine. But the party machine is not, nobody's taken over control, so it's just this free-for-all loop. It's gone way, way overboard. So you got these degrees of guilt. So when you have this notion of independent and pride, see, they've taken the loop, they're using me, the Jesus loophole, because they'll use Jesus as a poacher's big game trophy hunting weapon. They'll put the Jesus as a franchise, like a franchise tag. We're going to kill that motherfucker, so we'll call it Jesus. And, that's what it's all about. And it's basically just poaching and bank robbing. So they basically they're trying to put the franchise tag on me. And then so nobody took, what they did was they just distributed all the meat or the blood, but nobody took over control of the, and we're talking about a massive estate. We're talking about, with me, I'm a rare exception, because it's a massive global estate. That's why they've got to grow and grow and grow and grow. Necessity. So you've got these degrees of guilt. So it's like if you're taking a human and putting them on this university assembly line, and you put bionics, depending on what they become and what they are. So they're bionic people, and you're plugging them with mechanization. The problem is this independent pride notoriety that's given to them in the by this, like if you take the B blood and you're constantly, you have to be plugged in. That's why they have all these plugs in them. They're desperate reliant to be constantly plugged into me. That's why. See, what I'm trying to do is build walls. They will not let me build walls because I need to unplug. They've way, way overplugged into me. Way, way overplugged. I was saying let's go to the negotiating table, but they're worried about it, the domino effect. So they're not willing to give anything. That's the whole fucking joke. The kidnapper terrorists, mafia terrorists, will not negotiate with terrorists who are actually the victims trying to escape. That's the big, big joke. And they'll kill those fucking, they'll shoot at anybody that tries to help the victims escape. It's an active war to try to help these victims escape the poachers zoo. And everybody knows they're going to attack the world because it's the only answer. I mean, that's logic. It's healthcare. And their basis of logic that's built on a crooked, leaning tower of faulty tower of logic, built on quicksand house of cards, is very, very clean and bureaucratically, like that. That's the funny part about it, is they're built on a crooked foundation and quicksand, but they're forced to be ultra clean. That's where you get into the puritanical vanilla ice, because they're built on faulty tower foundation. So the building they build has to be perfectly clean. So these variations of degrees, and nobody I provide power to the whole SEC, obviously. So nobody tried to help me get out or escape or anything like that. So they're basically worthless degrees. So they sold their soul to be domesticated, and they never grew, and they're going to get butchered. We all know that. So nobody from Louisiana, and so now you got like Tulane jumped ship. Tulane's now a Yankee university. They should have been Louisiana or one of Louisiana's jewel assets, but Tulane is now Yankee property. Loyola has been claimed by, they're being attacked. Then you got like Loyola Marymount in Los Angeles is trying to get control of Loyola. So what they're doing is they're trying to dig tunnels. They're like tunnels to control these things of assets. The Catholics are crazy. They're really, really crazy. There's got to be. That's why you have the church, you have the aristocracy, but the Catholics don't have an aristocracy. There's no great, they're really. I wouldn't trust them to draw. I wouldn't trust their banking skills as far as or land. I wouldn't trust their land management. They this Christianity. I mean, they they're bizarre. It's bizarre. I mean, it's like you do understand why there were the saints were there. It's because you got to have some people play. But what they're just relying on the Holy Spirit that's going to and then save them or something like that. Even though they're crashing and burning bad, they've got no, they're losing tons. Catholics are the biggest losers in this because Latin America is going to get massacred by the cowboys and the politics, and Europe is going down to the party politics also. And so so basically they're just going to be a bunch of pretty buildings in a few years. Jesus, well, I think a lot of people realize that Jesus is going to, once it's all, it's on its last leg. So rather than prepare for the future, they wanted to sort of have one last hurrah, or I don't know. I'm trying to understand it, but yeah. It seems like once technology connects, it's going to, it really is making, and you can kind of see it heading in that direction. This is me as a correspondent. So, let's see if there was anything else. Oh, stealing the whales. Ocean's 13, where it's funny. They're stealing my wallet. See, I should have the wealth. They should be my best asset. But because I am beat down so bad and just massacred and bloody, and that's the joke, is I'm just a bloody pulp mess. They can't smell the blood, that sort of thing. Even though I've got 1,000 pages of evidence, they're still locking me out, even though I should be their banker. So they're herding the whales into these passes. Right now, the whales, which are big fat bank accounts, are being herded for the slaughterhouse and give it 10 or 20 years. Because they're going to have nowhere to go. Technology, when Skynet forms, which it is forming, and you have drones and everything, they're basically just going to start seizing assets. I don't care what you say about this. It's gonna head towards totalitarian Big Brother. It has to, because it's built on fraud. So it has to. That's why you become this ultra vanilla ice, clean, is because it's built on fraud, and that's why they have to attack the world and expand it globally. I don't know. Bizarre logic. See if there's anything else. The reversal of Fortune Playas Clubs. The Sonny Von Bülow, Klaus Von Bülow, Jeremy, JV Iron. See, what they did was they took the JV and they built all these players clubs, the penthouses, into the castle in the cloud, the castle in the sky. But they never paid a fucking cent to the electricity. They think it's just, it's this Jesus in Limbo by Hieronymus Bosch, which is in the Indianapolis Museum of Art. So Jesus is in limbo, but basically, as the St. Louis is a doormat holding the door open for anybody that can pass a driving test and can get a degree to get these super power valued credit cards, and then they eat as much at the buffet as much as they can. So it's really like a VIP Vegas buffet, and then they've got to validate their existence by attacking. So yeah, you just got a bunch of way over. It's the great white loan sharks. It's another thing. It's all based on. That's because it's this illogical formula. I mean, we're talking about billion. You call it the deal of the century, but it's really when there's a blacklist and a boycott, and there's literally scams. They're bribery to kidnap. Or scam. That's where you get into the whole. That's why I'm dragged around on a bloody leash. They tamper with the witness. The victim, I'm actually the victim and the witness. So they're tampering with the witness by desecrating me, by me being this insomnia zombie that's starving to death, trying to play all these roles, and then they're changing the rules depending on the amount of guilt that I have because I'm worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. So they actually change the rules depending on how good or bad I am. Talk about tampering with a fucking witness, you know. So, but it's like, I mean, we're talking about years of this scam that's going on, and they're trying to just claim it as Gulf of Mexico wells or something like that, but they never pay one fucking cent to the source. It's all the bootlegger pimps that get paid. You know, I'm not against. The problem is the representational value of energy. That's the real problem there. So you got these great white loan sharks, and so for a few $100,000, by paying for my sister's diploma at SMU and my degree, that's worth potentially trillions of dollars. Does that really seem fair? When you're accounting for the balance, not to mention the global economy is in shambles because of it. So that's where you get into. That's why they've got to get bigger. It's healthy. So, anything else I see on here? Empathetic decoy weapon. I take notes because I have these great ideas and I can't really figure out where it's going. So yeah, this generation of kids, generation current, not very bright. They should have helped me, or Generation Y should have helped me, but they decided not to. Generation X also didn't lift a finger. They just went to the buffet, and they just went to the butt. It's all just a government cheese buffet, and it's a shame, but what can you do?